Welcome back to Hub City Presents. I'm Kris Leonhardt, and I'm here speaking with Kathleen Meyer and Julie Salamonski about E.N.C. Incorporated. Everybody needs a community, or everyone needs a community. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about what led to your vision for the community?
Yeah, my oldest is 25. He has autism, and as a parent, we always wonder what will happen and where can they live. And a few years ago, Northridge Church put on a prom, a night to shine for people with developmental disabilities. And I looked around that evening and I thought, this is wonderful. The level of acceptance was terrific, and pretty much anything goes. And so I thought, how do I grow this? And so then, not too long after that, I saw an article about a community in East Hampton, Massachusetts, called Treehouse Community, where they brought together seniors with families who are adopting children who've experienced foster care. And I thought, I wonder if that model could work if we interpreted that for autism. So shortly after I retired, my husband and I went out to visit. Now, before that, I had called up and persistently bugged them until I got to talk to somebody, and I got some wonderful hints about it and learned a lot more. And of course, I didn't know anything about how to make something like this happen, so I asked them, how do you do this? And got some good first steps. So then my husband and I went out and visited, and I became convinced that this was a model that would work. The seniors love it. They have a 1 to 3 year waiting list to get in. The graduation rate for their children who've experienced foster rate is about 95%, with about 100% of those going on to secondary learning. So it's an astounding difference. The seniors love it. They relate that this is a new life for them, that they never imagined they could have, and again, people really want to get into this community. So we see the real possibility of interpreting that for autism, making ours an autism-informed community. They consider theirs a trauma-informed, where people have had foster parent training about what these behaviors mean of children who've been so traumatized, both through multiple foster families, but also the trauma that got them into foster care in the first place. So we think that this is the place where we can grow that acceptance, and that we also can create sort of guardian angels for one another, not just the seniors being guardian angels for those with autism, but seniors being guardian angels for one another. And also there are things that many on the autism spectrum can do that can be helpful for seniors. So carrying things or other things, depending on what that person's level of function. And some things dovetail quite well. Some people on the autism spectrum are obsessive compulsive cleaners, and one of the first things that seniors may need as they age is someone to help clean. We also believe that keeping people active is an important part of aging, and that we need to rethink aging completely, that we need to engage people perhaps in a new tribe, in their community, where they're doing things that mean something to them. And so the model of Treehouse is that people volunteer for 6 hours a week. Many of them do more than the expected 6 hours a week, because they engage and find fun things to do that really mean something. So there's great potential for benefit for both populations by bringing them together. Now, we're not going to exclude families. We would have some family housing there as well. But the priorities would be to address the crisis that's on the horizon, where seniors, the number of people over 80 in this country between 2015 and 2035 is going to double. And that's not even the end of the baby boom. So we know, and most of those are going to be living alone. So the other thing is that when my son was diagnosed with autism 25 years ago, it was the incidence was about 1 in 120 children. Now the Center for Disease Control believes that it's about 1 in 59. So we're looking at two groups that are going to be growing, and there is no significant housing there for them. So but we want to hit all of those things: healthy longevity, and support for autism, and we think that all dovetails.
So you learned about Treehouse Community, and you traveled out to Massachusetts, the whole board did?
We, the three of us, Kathy and her husband and I, one of the three of us went for the site duplication training. So they actually went out first what Kathy was just describing, and then she went on a second time with me, and for a 2-day training, and we met with the community members. They all had a story to share, and we learned about how the community is structured, and how we visited with some of the residents and got to actually go in and look at their cottages. And it was just really exciting to be there, and to be able to have some seed money too that was donated by somebody that we were able to fly out there and stay for a couple days and go to that training.
So your model is similar to what you saw.
We think there are lots of parts of that model that are essential to our design. Now, our physical model will look different. Because we need to take into account safety factors. For many people with autism aren't safe near road. And so we definitely will have the pedestrian walkways that one can see that are designed into Treehouse. And the single-bedroom cottages, we would add some 2-bedroom cottages also, which is some of the things that Treehouse also learned, that many seniors would like another room so they can either have a grandchild or somebody come and stay with them periodically, or many couples, as we age, we're noisier sleepers, and many people need to be in separate bedrooms to actually get sleep. So there will be things that we tweak, as well as other models that would be flexible housing. There's concepts in senior housing that would work also for those with disabilities. One is called co-housing, where people have essentially a kitchenless apartment, so a sitting room, a bedroom, and a shower or bathroom to themselves, but then a common area they can come out into, and then a shared kitchen and utility area. And so if one did that as a duplex sharing, you could decide whether or not to open the connector, but it would still be shared kitchen. So people could have company and people that they're closer to, or avoid their neighbors if they wished. So it's a newer emerging model, but that also could be used for some of those with autism who need to have a live-in 24/7 and on one side of the duplex, and then control that traffic between the two sides. So it appears to be a flexible model.
Can you describe the physical layout? I see you have a...
Yeah, there's on a loop that they have the affordable housing. Theirs was all affordable. Now the way the funding is done, that's not possible to do it that way. But basically, over here also there are there are lots that are for sale, market rate, and so. So basically, they have a mixture of 48 single-bedroom cottages in triplexes that are scattered around and landscaped nicely. And then they have 12 single-family homes that are in duplexes. And so we would have modify that, and we would want to separate our pedestrian zone as best as we can from the vehicle areas. So I would say those are the main adaptations. The other thing we want is a grown-up playground that's comfortable, because many of us who are older need to be more active, and if those swing seats were more comfortable, we would do it more.
So what is all on the playground?
Well, we're not that far in the design, but we're looking. Every time I go to a new place, I'm taking pictures of what they have, but I've seen climbing pyramids that are not empty in the middle, so that you can't fall if you're inside it. So yeah, there's some interesting ones that are
adapted. There's a lot of adaptive playground equipment online right now.
Yeah, but also
more popular than it used to be.
Yeah, but there's also ones for what do you call it when you're riding the wire? But having a little seat as well. Yeah, zip line. A modified zip line where you have no significant height and you have a little seat as well as something to hang on to, so that you can stimulate that aspect. So yeah, there's a lot of things that we would love to do that would help seniors, as well as our special people who need certain kinds of sensory stimulation to help them stay regulated.
And I see there's a community center. Can you tell about the community center?
The community center at Treehouse is large, and this is where we actually had lunch with the community members, and they were all engaged into each other, and they all had a story to share. we feel that this is great, but it's noisy, and so we were thinking of scaling it down a little bit and having different pods around it, which would allow 2 or 3 people who are working with an adult with autism to be able to work on a craft or a puzzle together without, they would still be in the area of the meeting place, but they wouldn't have all the noises.
Yeah, so we
things that are
imagine
going on.
Yeah, we imagine it being visually continuous, but being able to close the door. And also it could be a puzzle nook, because that's one of the ways that seniors like to socialize. It's just around a puzzle. It's not threatening. It's not embarrassing. There's no stress. And so we've looked into some of the things that both people with autism and seniors enjoy doing. So we think that there's really some wonderful things that we could do by adding certain features to the community center, and also being very cognizant of controlling noise in all of the environments.
And the feeling of neighborhood was just overpowering. I mean, everybody was engaged and knew each other. And when Kathy talked in the first segment about her son running down the driveway and the neighbors knew him, well, that's good that the neighbors knew him, but in this community, everybody would know everybody else, and there's that comfort zone there, that safety net, where, everybody knows each other, and there would be a protective fence around the community too, like Kathy said, to keep
a privacy fence, because a lot of the wandering is visual. So my son, when he sees something, he wants to go check it out. But if he can't see it, he would have to go a long way around and stay focused to pursue something that he heard on the other side of the fence. So we think that would be a real help to have that, and it'd be more likely he'd get distracted and wander into someone's place that knows him. So the size of the community we're aiming at is between 100 and 150 people, with about 25 spots for people on the autism spectrum. And that size is the limit of how many people can actually know each other on first name basis. They've done studies to see, what is that number? And so that's why that's our range. We would have a community directory. Those of our special people would have a special listing with a lot more details. Like my son, he's an Oreo savant. If you have
Oreos,
if you have Oreos in your place, he will find them in under 5 minutes. He will wander into home, drop his boots, his coat, whatever, and either dive into the sofa or start raiding the pantry, looking primarily for Oreos. So people knowing that it's Matt, they would have in his listing who they need to call. He's given them the slip, but they also wouldn't be threatened because they would know he's not aggressive. He's just he's noisy and he gets into Oreos, but he doesn't eat much besides spaghetti and meatballs. So the rest or cookies. So you're pretty safe there. So we see that as also the unexpected. You're never bored. And the problem with that a lot of people as they age face is boredom, loneliness. And depression. And you just can't be bored with autism.
Now, is this something you're looking to place in the city of Marshfield?
Yes, we would like to build this in Marshfield. We think Marshfield is the perfect place for this. We are looking at available sites in Marshfield. We think that the services that are available to support people is appropriate here in Marshfield. We have, police are already on board with autism training. My husband's been training first responders for 16 years, just as a parent and raising awareness. And also there's a crisis intervention for Wood County that we've talked to that knowing when you get on a call of who you're going to help is helpful to them also to know what they're facing. We feel if we can design the environment properly, we're going to cut down on a lot of those episodes. So we think Marshfield is a great place to do this for the first time. There are different kinds of communities, but this one is meant to be a community. It's not a nursing home. It's not where we're providing staff. This is housing with a community center. What's different is we will be the catalyst that brings together other groups like social services and ODC and the crisis intervention and others to make it all connect in a more ideal way.
Say I was going to give you the money tomorrow to buy the land to get this project started. Where would you want that land to be?
Well, funny you should ask. We do have our eyes on a place that, right now it's a dream, it's a vision, but because I'm not the developer, I can't control things. But there's a place across the street from Aldi's, behind Legacy Homes, which is owned by Wisconsin Homes, that is big enough to do this, and they're interested. So there's a lot more steps that I need to go through before we can make that a reality. But we sat down with them and explained what we've explained here, and certainly the option is open. And so, it will be a lot more balls in the air before I can, I've got to loosen up a lot of things to bring things all together. But I'm an optimist, and I explained, having been a reconstructive surgeon, that failure is not an option, and also that my cup is half full until it's completely empty. If there's another option there, I can do it. So, but yeah, we do have our eye on a location, and it will be challenging every step of the way. Financing will be challenging. Learning about how to do affordable housing, which is important, because we started with the city planning group, and we verified that this is a need that Marshfield has for affordable housing, and that's confirmed. Absolutely, they need it. We've talked to multiple church groups and professional enrichment organizations, and they were like, this is a great idea. We love this. We haven't had anybody say, no, this is a stupid idea, don't do this. And so that keeps us going, saying, people say this should exist already. So that keeps us going, and this is not something that I actually know how to do, but I have learned a lot about how this, what steps, and I'm learning more every day about how to make it a reality.
Is another community an option? If somebody were to give you land in, say, Wisconsin Rapids?
That's really tough. And I would say, I would give them all the information I have, but I don't, now that I understand what's involved as far as getting enough support from a community to raise the funds, to make it happen, I have no connections there. I don't have people who know me or would trust that I could do this. Whereas I've lived in Marshfield for 25 years, and so, but we have actually presented down in Wisconsin Rapids, and they would, the people we presented to say, can you do it down here? And I said, I will tell you everything I know about how to do this, but I don't think I can do it in a different community. So only if I fail completely here would I try to do that, because it is so big that I don't think that I would be successful elsewhere for the first one. Once we have the first one, then I think I would be better off helping people in another place who are connected to make it happen there.
Okay, let's touch on finance quickly.
Yeah.
So you just had a fundraiser.
Yes.
And how did that go? Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, we called it both a fundraiser and a fundraiser, because at the stage that we're at, again, getting the word out and having community support for this is as important as raising funds. And so we had over 200 people come for our fundraiser, which we were delighted with. So that was very helpful.
We were thrilled that the Pointless Brothers played for our fundraiser and donated their time and their talent. There were people that just came to dance and do line dancing, and they bought a lot of raffle tickets. So it was great.
Yeah, so we thought it went very well for our first time, and we did it at the Eagles Club, which they did a wonderful job too. So we were just very pleased with how the whole thing came together and how it worked out, and people had a nice time, and there's a lot of buzz now around the community about our effort, because what we did also was we interrupted the band, and actually one of the police officers came to also talk about what it has meant to the police to understand more about autism. And then I told a few stories. I think the one with the young man cutting the cords on the vacuum cleaners is such a telling thing. That's, my favorite one, to have people understand why this is important. So we talked about different aspects of why this is important for our community. And I also think that Marshfield is such a wonderful size for the kindness of people. And I often joke that my son and I, we test the kindness of Marshfield every time we go out. He gets in people's faces and shouts, "What's your name?" So fast that you don't know what he said. And people really almost uniformly are just so kind with his inappropriate social approaches. It's just great. But again, all the resources we need, plus, people being able to know each other is, I think, key for a starter. And I think that Marshfield's the perfect place to start it.
So do you have a fundraising goal at this point in time?
I don't have a number. My next goal right now, I'm applying for grants to support this, both from the healthy aging standpoint. There's research that shows that we may be able to get 10 more years of good health by being active and being engaged and having a purposeful life. And so, we look at, the location that we're looking at is walking distance to the Y, walking distance to the clinic, walking distance to groceries, and would have walking paths in it. So right now, I don't have a number because I need to bring a developer on. We need to have drawings. We need to have estimates. I would love to have an architect who specializes in some of these sensory issues. That would be wonderful. So I'm afraid right now it's early enough. I don't have a concrete number.
One of the things that we do need to do is a feasibility study. We'll need to do that soon. Either we'll have to get that going, and we did talk to somebody in Stevens Point who was willing to do it for us. But we're not sure when we're going to do that. But that would, what that does is it gives legitimacy to our endeavor. And when you have a feasibility study, it shows that this project can fit within Marshfield.
And that's also something that typically a developer would do, is a feasibility study.
Hopefully,
yeah,
they would do
and
it.
that will cost some money as well.
Yes, that's expensive, and so we have possibilities, but I think as far as financing the whole thing, affordable housing typically has multiple sources, but one of the biggest ones in the state of Wisconsin is something called tax credits, and it's very competitive to apply for those, and they're applied at Wisconsin Housing and Economic Development Agency. And so the application for those is typically in December, and then people find out in March. And we're aiming, could we get that far by this December? Aim high. We're certainly doing a full court press right now. I've just submitted a grant application to a healthy longevity a challenge, which is one that isn't exactly a study, but it would fit this model and is potentially a $50,000 award if we could get it. And we could apply again. It's going to be going on, I think, 3 years. So we're definitely looking at different funding sources to make this happen. But as far as the public event, we'll probably just do that once. But we'll be approaching, once a year.
Yeah.
And we'll be approaching, private foundations and people who have an interest in supporting something like this. So certainly when we get to building, there will be money that we will need because the tax credits will not fund the whole thing. And talking to the developer that we're likely to use, that this would be sizable, so we would need to stage the building of the community. And we expect to pencil in, things that we really want, like, if we're going to have an area for the community members to be able to do crafts and woodworking, well, a he shed, she shed, that's outside the fence, so that, people like my son wouldn't have easy access to it. That would be ideal. And is that something that we could do from the beginning? Maybe not. But if we have the space penciled in, then it could be be, fundraiser at a later time. So that's the way we look at it right now is that first I thought, oh, how do you do a staged thing with autism and construction and the noises? And then I thought, well, you can bring the people who don't have those sensitivities in first. And then with them knowing that more construction will go on over time. So it's a project that's coming together in parts.
So if anybody wants to help or contact you to learn more, how can they contact you?
Actually, our email is probably the easiest, which we tentatively have been talking about it, calling it Tree Haven. So Tree Haven, and then everyone needs a community. So it's Treehaven, E.N.C. @gmail.com. That's the easiest.
And the website?
And the website, if you want to look at, is e-n-a-c.org.
Can you say that one more time?
Yeah, everyone, -n, needs, -a, -c, community.org. So e-n-a-c.org.
Okay, and if somebody doesn't have internet, is there an alternate way?
That is a little bit more difficult right now. I would say, those are, well, actually a mailing address. A mailing address, you can mail things to 111-216 Marsh Road, Marshfield, Wisconsin, 54449. And that's my home address as well. So that's where we're working out of as we get started.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on behalf of Kathleen Meyer, Julie Salamonski, and myself, Kris Leonhardt. Thank you, and we'll see you the next time.